Hi y'all, welcome and welcome back to this video, which is an introduction to environmental ethics. Environmental ethics is the field of philosophy that examines the moral relationship between human beings and the natural environment. Unlike traditional ethical frameworks, it focuses almost exclusively on human-to-human obligations. Environmental ethics asks us to consider whether non-human entities like animals, plants, ecosystems, species, landscapes, even the earth itself, might possess moral value. If they do, then humans may have obligations not only to one another, but also to the natural world. This shift represents one of the most significant expansions of ethical thinking in the last century. At the heart of environmental ethics lies a foundational question. Do non-human parts of nature have intrinsic value, meaning value in and of themselves, independent of their usefulness to human beings? Traditional Western ethical theories, from Aristotle and Kant to Mills and Rawls, have been overwhelmingly anthropocentric, or human-centered. They assume that only humans are moral agents and moral patients, and they often treat nature as a resource rather than a community of beings with moral standing. Environmental ethics challenges this assumption directly. The emergence of environmental ethics as a formal field in the 1960s and 1970s was not accidental. During this period, global awareness of ecological crisis increased dramatically. Massive pollution events, species extinctions, toxic waste disasters, and the early warnings of climate instability prompted both scientists and philosophers to question the sustainability and morality of human activity. What had once been viewed as an engineering or economic problem began to be seen as a deeply moral one. How should humans live on Earth, and what do we owe the natural world? Few works shaped environmental consciousness as profoundly as Rachel Carson's Silent Spring, published in 1962. By exposing the ecological and human dangers of pesticide use, Carson awakened the public to the interconnectedness of all life and the fragility of ecological systems. Her work helped spark the environmental movement, leading to the creation of Earth Day in 1970, the Environmental Protection Agency, and a wave of environmental laws worldwide. Philosophers soon recognized that scientific understanding alone was not enough. Ethical frameworks were needed to evaluate human responsibility towards nature. Traditional ethical theories like consequentialism, deontology, virtue ethics, and social contract theory were not designed to address environmental problems. They assume morality concerns human interests and human communities. As a result, they typically treat nature instrumentally as a set of resources for human use. However, environmental crises such as climate change, biodiversity collapse, deforestation, and mass extinction revealed the inadequacy of moral theories that ignore the moral status of non-human life. Environmental ethics arose to fill this theoretical gap. Anthropocentrism is the belief that humans occupy the center of moral concern and that non-human nature has value only insofar as it serves human purposes. This assumption has deep roots in Western philosophy, religion, and culture. From Aristotle's ladder of nature to Descartes' mechanistic view of animals to modern economic models of resource extraction, anthropocentrism has shaped how societies view and treat the environment. Environmental ethics challenges this worldview by arguing that moral concern should extend beyond the human sphere. A central debate in environmental ethics concerns the distinction between instrumental and intrinsic value. Instrumental value refers to the usefulness of something for achieving human goals. For example, forests provide timber, oxygen, recreation, and climate regulation. Intrinsic value means something is valuable in itself, regardless of its utility. If animals, ecosystems, or landscapes have intrinsic value, then they deserve moral consideration independent of human interests. This distinction forms the foundation for many environmental ethical theories. Environmental ethics asks whether the moral community, the set of beings who are owed moral consideration, should be expanded beyond humans. Some argue that sentient animals deserve rights because they can suffer. Others argue that ecosystems, species, or entire biotic communities deserve moral standing because they possess integrity, stability, and beauty. Some legal systems have even granted rivers, forests, or mountains the status of legal persons. These debates refine what it means to act ethically in a planetary context. The biocentric turn shifts moral focus from humans to all living beings. Biocentric theories argue that all forms of life, not only humans, have interests, value, and a claim to moral respect. Thinkers such as Paul Taylor and Albert Schweitzer developed life-centered ethics, emphasizing reverence for life, respect for organisms flourishing, and moral limits on harming other beings. This approach helped to inspire both the animal rights movement and global conservation efforts. Ecocentrism goes further than biocentrism by arguing that moral value belongs not only to individual organisms, but also to ecological wholes, ecosystems, species, habitats, and the biotic community. Aldo Leopold's land ethic is the most influential ecocentric theory, asserting that humans are plain members and citizens of the natural community rather than conquerors. Ecocentrism shifts moral attention to ecological integrity, resilience, and interdependence, encouraging holistic approaches to environmental responsibility. Environmental ethics plays a critical role in addressing contemporary global issues such as climate change, resource depletion, pollution, and environmental injustice. Ethical analysis helps us to evaluate policies, technologies, and lifestyle choices, questioning the moral implications of consumption patterns, energy use, agriculture systems, education systems, and economic priorities. Environmental ethics also encourages societies to adopt sustainable practices, to promote ecological stewardship, to recognize the unequal burdens environmental problems impose on marginalized communities. Environmental ethics matter because they guide how individuals, communities, and nations interpret their responsibilities to the natural world. Whether we're debating climate policy, designing sustainable cities, protecting endangered species, or evaluating new technologies, ethical reasoning shapes the choices we make. Environmental ethics expands our moral imagination and encourages us to consider the long-term well-being of ecosystems, future generations, and the planet Earth itself. The rise of environmental ethics reflects a broader recognition that moral theory must evolve to meet the challenges of the modern world. Human flourishing is inseparable from ecological flourishing, and ethical reasoning must account for the complex interdependence of all life on Earth. Environmental ethics help us move beyond the narrowed human-centered thinking to a more expansive, responsible, and sustainable moral life. Alright y'all, that's all for now. If you're interested in more videos on philosophy and ethics, take a look at the videos posted on our channel. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.